A very good morning to all. Today we are going to start with a new chapter, chapter number 12, and the name of the chapter is Soil. So have you seen soil? Yes, right. So if you just look around, you can see soil. The land around us is covered with soil. Do you know what is soil? Soil is a thin layer of material on the earth's surface. Soil is the layer of loose material that covers most of the earth's land. So that is the thin layer of material on the earth's surface. So is soil important to us? Yes, it plays a very important role in the earth's ecosystem. Even we can say it is a life support system. Soil is our life support system. So why do we say soil is our life support system? There is a reason for that. So where do plants grow? Plants grow in the soil. And the soil supports the root of a plant. And plants need water and nutrients, right? And these soil provides them water and nutrients for the plants to grow. We human beings depend on plants for our food. What about animals? Even animals depend on plants for our food. So, it is a life support system. So, what is soil? Soil is the thin layer of material on the earth's surface. So, the land around us is covered with soil. Then, soil, it is a life support system. It plays a very, very important role in the earth's ecosystem. So we learned what is soil. But do you know how the soil is formed? Now let's learn about the formation of soil. So the soil is formed millions of years ago. And the formation of soil is not a slow process. It is a very long process. Even we can say it is an ongoing process. So how the soil is formed? It formed millions of years ago. Millions of years ago, the earth's surface was covered with rocks. There was no soil. The whole land was covered with rocks. So by the action of wind and rain, these rocks got cracked. And again, by flowing water and by wind, the cracks got widened. And these rocks broke into larger pieces. What happened? These rocks broke into larger pieces. Then pebbles, sand, silt, clay, they were formed from rocks. Then what happened? Later on, plants appeared on the land. And their remains, the dead remains of plants mixed with the particles of rocks. And this is how soil has formed. So first, the earth's surface was covered with full of rocks. By the action of wind and rain, these rocks got cracked. Then later on, these cracks got widened and it broke into larger pieces. Then gradually what happened? Pebbles, sand, silt, they were formed from rocks. Then later on, plants, they appeared on the land. And their remains also mixed with the particles of rocks. This is how soil has formed. It is not a slow process. It is a very long process. We can say it is an ongoing process. So this is how soil has formed. So we learned what is soil. That is the thin layer of material on the earth's surface. And it is very, very important to us. Then we learned how soil has formed. Now let's see what does the soil contain. So the soil contains different materials. It contains pebbles, sand, silt, clay, humus, etc. You know what is humus? Have you heard the term humus? It means the dead remains of plants. So that is called humus. Even that is present in the soil. If you take some soil and mix it in the water, you can see the pebbles, sand, silt, all these particles get settled down at the bottom layer. So these pebbles and sand, has more weight. So they settle down at the bottom. And what about the silt? The silt has less weight when compared to sand, so it appears over the sand. Then the soil contains water and the soil contains humus. That is the dead remains of plants. Even that floats on the surface of the water. Then the soil contains air and water. So if you take a dry lump of soil and you mix it in the water, you can see the air bubbles coming out. So what does it mean? It contains air. So even it contains water. So when it rains, the soil collects rainwater and it is stored in the underground. So what does soil contain? Soil contains different materials. It contains pebbles, sand, silt, clay, humus, etc. Even it contains air and water. Now, let's discuss about the different types of soil. So there are different types of soil such as the black soil, red soil, alluvial soil, laterite soil. So all these soils are formed from sediments brought down by the rivers. So today we are going to learn about the different types of soil based on their characteristics. So here you can see 3 different types of soil based on their characteristics such as sandy soil, clay soil and loamy soil. So today we are going to discuss in detail about these 3 types of soil. Which are they? Sandy soil, clay soil and loamy soil. So let's discuss each of them one by one. See the first one, that is the sandy soil. So have you seen sandy soil? Where can we see this type of soil? We can see these type of soils in desert. Even places near the sea has sandy soil. So this sandy soil has higher proportion of sand. So sandy soil has higher proportion of sand. And they cannot fit closely together. And there are large spaces between the particles. There are large spaces between the sand particles. And these spaces are filled with air. So therefore, there is large water absorption. So therefore, there is high water absorption and water can be easily passed through the sand. And what about the plants that grow in this type of soil? So very few plants grow in the sandy soil. So that is about sandy soil. It contains a higher amount of sand. You can see in deserts and even places near the sea has sandy soil. Then there are large spaces between the particles. So therefore, there is high absorption, there is high water absorption and water can be easily passed through the sand. So that is about the first type of soil, that is the sandy soil. Then the next one, which is the next one, that is the clayey soil. So here it contains higher proportion of particles. So here it contains higher proportion of clay. In sandy soil, we learnt that there are large spaces between the sand. But in clay soil, there is only less space between them. So what happens? The water gets trapped in the spaces between them. What happens? Water gets trapped between the particles because there is less space between them. Then another important thing is in summer. We know that in summer it is very hot. In summer it becomes dry and as it becomes dry it turns hard. In summer the soil turns hard. Then what about the plants that grow in clay soil? Some plants only grow in clay soil. So that is about clay soil. Then which is the next type of soil? That is the loamy soil. So loamy soil contains mixture of sand, silt and it even contains good amount of humus. So what is humus? Humus means the dead remains of plants, which is very suitable for the plants to grow. So in clay soil we learnt that water gets collected between the gaps. But in loamy soil the water does not collect as easily as clayey soil. Then most of the plants grow in loamy soil because it contains good amount of humus. That is the dead remains of plants, which is very suitable for the plants to grow. So these are the 3 different types of soil based on characteristics. So which are they? The sandy soil, the clayey soil and the loamy soil. So the sandy soil contains higher proportion of sand and it has large space between them. What about clay soil? Clay soil contains good amount of higher proportion of clay and it has less space between them and it collects water. Then what about in loamy soil? It contains good amount of humus, which is very good for the plants to grow. And it does not collect water as clayey soil. So these are the 3 different types of soil. So what did we learn in this class? We learnt about soil. So what is soil? So soil is a thin layer of material on the earth's surface and it is very, very important to us. The land around us is covered with soil. We can say it is the life support system. Then we learnt about the formation of soil. It is a very long process and it has formed millions of years ago. During that time, the earth's surface was covered with full of rocks. Then we learnt about the 3 different types of soil and we learnt what does the soil contain. What does the soil contain? It contains different materials like pebbles, sand, silt and air, water and even humus. So this is what we learnt in this class. So I hope you are clear with it. In page number 118, there are 4 questions given. Clay soil, sandy soil gets clogged with water. Clogged means blocked. So which soil gets blocked with water? That is the clay soil. It has less space between the particles so that water gets blocked between the spaces. Second one, plants grow well in sandy soil, loamy soil. So which soil? It is in loamy soil. Third one, loamy soil is fertile, not fertile. It is very fertile. That is why plants grow in loamy soil. Fourth one, humus is mainly formed from the remains of plants, animals. It is formed mainly from the dead remains of plants. So I hope you are clear with the class. We'll meet in the next class with a new topic. Till then, thank you.